Hi, this is Graham, your Luminex product manager here at AC Entertainment Technologies. Just going to go through how to set up the LumiCore ready for festival season, enable you to switch between multiple consoles at front of house. So in our NAO here, you can see our basic setup. We've got LumiCore at front of house with consoles going into the 20T. And then we've got some nodes on stage, which we're going to set up to receive the data. And we're going to do the console switching using the LumiCore. So let's go into our LumiCore. As you can see, currently there is nothing set up in our processing engines. So what we're going to do is we're going to configure our LumiCore to accept these signals. So first of all, we're going to go into network. What we're going to do is we're going to make sure that we are receiving a ISL to our LumiCore, so an inter-switch link. So all of the groups that are in our GigCore network can get to our LumiCore. So going to assign groups, going to hit ISL, and for now I'm just going to make sure both of the EtherCon connectors on my LumiCore are configured as ISLs. I'm going to hit save, and that will apply that setting. As you can see in the left here, we have our management group. So this is the group in which all of our devices, our gigacores, our luminodes, our lumicores are all configured. We can tell that because the allow config icon is illuminated, saying that on this network or on this group, we can configure this device. So what we're going to do is we're going to add some interfaces. These interfaces are going to tell the LumiCore which groups to listen out for data on. So we're going to set up 4 instances to begin with. So 4 interfaces for our input sources. So our input sources are going to be from our house console, from our headliner console, from Touring 1 console and Touring 2 console. So I'm going to add an interface. First interface is going to be for my house console. I'm going to assign the interface a IP address. So I'm going to use 10.0.2.201. And this is going to be on a /24 subnet. I'm going to add another interface, which is going to be my headliner. I'm going to keep the IP addresses similar just for ease. 201 on a /24. Going to add an interface for our Touring 1. 10.0.4.201 on a 24 subnet. And I'm going to add another interface for our Touring 2. 10.0.5.201. This is also going to be on a /24 subnet. Be careful just to make sure that your subnets don't overlap. Because if you have overlapping IP ranges, you will get an error. So here we've got our interface for our house console, headliner, Touring 1 and Touring 2. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to enable input into the LumiCore from these groups. So here, my input icon, I can click these here, and this will enable these groups to input streaming ACN, ArtNet, KaiNet, Blacktracks information into the LumiCore. I'm going to hit save, and that's going to save my configuration. What I'm also going to do is I'm going to use a separate group for my information that is going to my house nodes. So I'm creating a separate group for all of the house rig. So I've already got a group set up with all of my house nodes and fixtures. So again, I'm going to create a interface for this. I'm going to do 10.0.1.201 on a /24. And with this interface, I'm going to allow this to output. So my LumiCore will output my DMX information to this network. Hit save, and that's that configured. What I'm also going to do is, because I like the front of house engineer that's operating our house console, what I'm also going to do is I'm going to allow him to access the settings on the LumiCore from this IP on his network, his group. So I can do that by clicking the Allow Config button. So if he was to open a web page with that IP address, he would then be able to get access to the LumiCore. Hit save, and all those settings now applied. So now I'm going to go into the core to set up the processing engines. So this is the LumiCore 64. We have 64 processing engines in total. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take this first processing engine, and first of all, what I'm going to do is change the function to a switch. So what I can do now is I can set up my 4 inputs coming into this processing engine. First of all, I'm going to bring streaming ACN in on universe 1 from my house console. This is going to be my input 1. My input 2 is going to be streaming ACN universe 1 coming from my headliner console. Input 3 is going to be streaming ACN coming from my Touring 1 console. Input 4 is going to be my streaming ACN coming in from my Touring 2 console. So that means now I have 4 inputs coming into my processing engine, and the switch function will switch between these 4 input sources. For my output side, I'm going to output streaming ACN again, universe 1, and this will be going to my house nodes network. So after hitting save, we can now see that that processing engine is configured. What we're going to do now is look at the control source to do this switching. So the switching between the consoles at front of house will be done either via streaming ACN or via ArtNet, and you can configure this here. So here, I've already got it configured. I'm going to use streaming ACN, universe 1000, and this is going to come in from my house console group. And I'm going to use DMX channel 1 to do the switching. So with the switch function, you need certain values on your DMX channel to switch between these input sources. So to find these, if you hover over the question mark icon, you can see that a value of 0 to 7 does nothing. A value of 8 to 15 switches to input 1. A value of 16 to 23 switches to input 2. A value of 24 to 31 switches to input 3, and a value of 32 to 39 switches to input 4. So these could be recorded on your house console with macros or palettes or whatever you want to do. You could even do it as a queue stack, so you can switch between them that way. It's completely up to you how you do this. Another function is you could maybe set up a stream deck that outputs streaming ACN or ArtNet into the house console network, and you could get that to do the switching also. So now that that's configured, I'm going to hit save. So this is now our processing engine set up, ready to go. What you may find is you have a headliner come through with an LD that has his floor package on Universe 1. So actually he needs the house rig to be up in to say Universe 101. It's quite easy to do at this stage. We can just change the universe that they are inputting into our LumiCore. Hit save. So that there, streaming ACN Universe 101 is coming into our processing engine and will output to our house nodes on streaming ACN 1. Just means that you don't have to reconfigure all of your nodes and all of your fixtures to accommodate them. You may also find that an LD comes through and they can only give you ArtNet. So Torium 1 here, we're going to change to ArtNet. Going to do Universe 1 coming in. Just make sure it's coming in from Torium 1. Hit save. This means that Torium 1 desk can input on ArtNet into our system, but we're still sending streaming ACN to our house nodes and to our house fixtures. Like I say, it means we just don't have to reconfigure our nodes to suit the Torium artists that are coming through. So our house rig is 4 universes. So what I can do is I can select this processing engine, go to the green dot down here, and I can replicate this across 4 of our processing engines. What you'll notice is that the input sources auto increment. So I've got 4 universes here, and if you notice that my streaming ACN that was on 101, this is also auto incremented. Also, what you'll see in the processing engine, where we had streaming ACN 1000 as our control source to do the switching, this is also replicated down through our processing engines. Our outputs have also auto incremented, so it just saves you a lot of time configuring your LumiCore. So let's move on to trying to do some switching. So currently got set up a streaming ACN view on our house console network that is outputting on streaming ACN 1000. I've got some presets up here already configured to do the switching. So what I can do is I can hit preset 1 and this will switch to input 1. I can hit preset 2. This will switch to input 2 as our input source. Preset 3. This will switch to our input 3, which is our ArtNet for Torium 1. I can hit 4, which will then switch to our input 4, which is our Torium 2. So it's quite an easy setup. What we can do, just to double check things, is we can go into our Lumi node, and we can see that we're receiving streaming ACN in. We can go to our eye icon at the end to view what is coming out of our processing engine. So this gives us all of the DMX information from that processing engine. And we can see if it tallies up with what's being outputted from the LumiCore. So hopefully you've found this useful. If you have any questions, feel free to get in touch.